Hello. Hi, guys. Welcome to our podcast. This is the Zim Celebs podcast, episode number 2. My name is Noxie, and I'm the one who's hosting today. Last week, and our first episode was Shumba Pajese, and he spoke to El Gringo. All I will say is, yay! El Gringo can talk, and what a wow. But last weekend, there was a show that happened. Makazi was here, and amazing show. But after the show, I mean, we saw their performance and everything, but one of the things that really stood out from that show was the H Metro then published a story about a man who was in a dress. The story says this man was using the ladies, the ladies' bathrooms. And we figured, you know what, there's always two sides to a story. Let's take time, let's sit down and speak to this person. And so today we're joined by Yami.
Hi Noxie, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great, thanks.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
So before we get into anything, who is Yami? All we know is we saw you in the newspaper. So now, just tell us about you.
Yamikani, I'm a 20-something-year-old.
Uh-huh.
I'm a fashion designer by profession, although I don't go to school for it.
Wow.
But I live, breathe, and eat fashion.
Okay. So you were at Makazi's show,
Yes,
and you were in a dress.
I was in a dress.
So was that you being a billboard, or you're a cross-dresser?
That was me being a billboard and me just living my life as an artist because of freedom of expression. But then generally I am a billboard for my own work. Why do I need to pay someone to advertise my work when I can do it on my own?
So I get you that you're a billboard for your own work. But the H Metro then came out and said all these things, like you were using the ladies' toilets.
Yes, they did say that.
Were you using the ladies' toilets?
I never even went to the bathroom because my friends, the one that I went with to the show, used the bathrooms before me, and then both guys and girls were complaining. They were like, they're too messy. And I'm one of those OCD people. I can't use a messy bathroom or be in a messy place. So I then was like, I can't use the bathrooms until the show was done. So I never visited the bathroom at any given point. That was just a fabricated lie.
Okay, and then, so let's go back to the dressing.
Yes.
Are you a cross-dresser?
No, I'm not a cross-dresser.
So what are you?
Maybe most people are not familiar with these terms, but then a cross-dresser is someone who cross-dresses for the purposes of entertainment. Let's say drag queens, drag kings, those people, they cross-dress for purposes of entertainment, either to perform or maybe just to showcase what they're good at. But then for me, it's mainly about work and gender identity.
When you say gender identity, maybe we should get into that. What do you mean gender identity?
Gender identity is, outwardly, most people view me as a male and then will be like, oh, this is a male, and then they won't know. But then I'm not really a male person. And I wouldn't also then say I'm a female person.
So
but
how
I'm a
do we
gender
identify
non-conforming person.
Gender non-conforming person. So how do we address you? Are you a he? Are you a she?
I'm not a he, I'm not a she. I'm a them or theirs.
Okay. So when you say gender conform, you said gender?
Gender non-conforming.
Okay, explain. Let's get into that.
Gender non-conforming means I wake up, I might wake up feeling like a boy, I might wake up feeling like a girl, but I'm in between. It's not really what I am that day. I wake up as a girl, I wake up as a boy. I might even spend the rest of the day thinking I'm an animal.
Wow.
That's just generally me.
Okay, so where does that put your sexuality? Because that's an identity issue.
Yes,
so where's your sexuality?
That's an identity issue.
Yes.
Sexuality-wise, I wouldn't pin it on anything.
You're fluid.
Yes, very much fluid.
Okay.
It seems to be too much to take in.
It's a lot to take in, more so because all we know is someone's gay. That's as much as I think as a typical Zimbabwean.
Oh yes.
We don't know the difference. All I know is, okay, this is it. This person's just gay. That's it.
There's gay, there's bisexual, there's lesbian, there's transgender, there's intersex, there's queer. And a whole lot
Isn't
of
queer
more
just
broader terms.
everything?
It could be everything if you'd want us to put it that way.
Okay, so let's get into your experience after the Age Metro article.
It has been a whirlwind experience. I got kicked out from where I was staying.
Why?
Because of the article. It was just drama after drama.
No, but the basis of being kicked out was...
The article came out, it had you, and we can't really be associated with you at the moment.
Whoa. I mean, I feel like that's a lot for someone to then say, you know what, out of my space as a person. But as a person in society,
yes,
how does that work out for you?
It's very hard, to be honest. It is very hard because most people, you know how Zimbabwean people are very judgmental and narrow-minded. I wouldn't want to offend anyone, but then, yeah. So they've got their own understanding of things. So if they see things that are out of the box or that they don't understand, they're quick to judge without really getting to know or understanding anything.
Okay. Unoenda kuchechi?
Ndaimboenda kuchechi.
Wakasire chechi.
I lost my faith along the way. I lost my faith in people.
You lost your faith in people?
In people, in the church. It just wasn't working for me. It wasn't serving my purpose. But I pray all the time. But I just don't go to church.
So you are a Christian?
Yes, I grew up in a very tight Christian family.
And how was that experience? I mean, with the fact that you're different?
It's always been hard, but I would thank my mom for it because she's my pillar of strength. If she was here now, she'd be telling you some of these terms. I would be looking at her and be like, how do you know all these things? But then she's that well invested in me. She knows.
Okay, let's get into your work as a designer. Who have you worked with in...
I wouldn't want to mention names, but then I've worked with almost everyone. Almost every socialite that you can think of in Zim.
Really?
Yes.
And dating?
I'm not dating anyone.
So
but
now
after this article, I've been getting a whole lot of DMs.
Male, female?
I wouldn't want to say.
Come on! You're not mentioning anyone's name.
This is about me, not people.
Okay, I get it.
But then, yeah, I've been getting a whole lot of DMs from even people you didn't think would be capable of sending DMs.
So, I'm gonna ask.
Yes.
I don't know if I'll call it a misconception or I don't know. Listen, we'll just put it, and I'm gonna throw this word loosely.
Okay.
So there's been stories that a lot of married men also bet for the other team.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yes. Most of them are bisexual.
Hey, married women. This I have to look straight in the camera.
That are
married
popularly
women.
known as after nines.
After what?
9.
What is an after 9?
They only look for you after 9, literally, in the literal sense.
Listen, nobody prepared me for this. Wow. Okay, so those would fall under bisexual.
Yes.
You dodged a question that I asked.
Did I?
Yes, you said you were gender non-conforming.
Yes.
And there's a lot of people and a lot of stories that then came out and said you were transgender. So maybe let's get into that part. Are you transgender?
Yes. I was in the process of transitioning, but because of COVID, I had to stop.
So that meant you wanted to change your appearance?
Yes.
Why?
I've always identified as, from growing up, as female.
Okay, so you wanted to
realign myself with what's inside.
So internally,
Yes.
you relate with the woman. So that would answer the other question you didn't want to answer earlier.
Which one?
And I said about your sexuality.
Well,
it's okay.
We'll leave it at that.
Yes, we'll leave it at that. I feel like it gets complicated, right?
It does, because now you'd all have to know.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I mean, now that we have you here,
yes,
and I feel like I'm just going to utilize you a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you can take us through the LGBTQI and explain the difference between a transgender, a bisexual, a gay, and all the other terms we don't know of. Because I feel like right now in Zimbabwe, if we see someone we don't understand, we just look at them and say, oh, they're gay. That's it. That's...
All right. So L stands for lesbian.
Mm-hmm.
G stands for gay.
Mm-hmm.
B stands for bisexual.
Mm-hmm.
T stands for transgender. I stands for intersex. And then Q stands for queer.
Intersex. Let's go back to intersex. I feel like we know everything else. Intersex.
Yes. Intersex is when someone was born
Mm-hmm.
with two genitals, but then the other, wouldn't really call them two, would say was born with one ambiguous genitalia.
Okay.
So it means they're two, but then one of it is more pronounced than the other. And then when you're in Zimbabwe, because it's very hard, the nurses at the hospital will then force your parents to pick what sex they want.
Ah, okay.
So it would have been better to just leave the birth certificate blank until the child is able to send for him or herself that they want to be a girl or they want to be a boy.
Okay. Right, that's intersex. And then the
Yes.
last one is queer.
Queer.
Okay. And then there's, under the transgender, there's
transgender, there's gender nonconforming, there's queer. There are plenty of terms, because it now depends with how people have got different connotations to what they feel or what they represent.
Okay.
But then a transgendered person is a person born into the wrong. They identify as maybe male.
So now I'm going to ask, because this is what everyone's thinking and I am thinking it.
Yes.
Are we not questioning God when you say, I feel like I was born into the wrong body? Because as someone who's a Christian, as someone who's, the first thing that comes to mind is if you say, okay, I feel like I was born into the wrong body. You're questioning God.
Yes. As a Christian, growing up, I used to always battle with that all the time. I would always fight, like, why am I like this? Why am I not like the other children? Why is it like this? Why is it going like this? Because it was always that difficult. But then, asking you, hypothetically speaking, would you try and identify yourself with something that is always being called out every single day of the day? Like, everyone is always has got a bad name to call it or anything that's negative about it. Would you want to associate yourself with something like that? That's where I found my courage. I was like, no, it means if I'm convicted in knowing that I'm like this, then it means it's the right way.
Okay. And then, were you born that way, or you started feeling and discovering this at a certain age? Because there's also the conception that it's a choice.
Yeah, there is a conception that it's a choice. But if you were to ask my classmates, my friends, I've always been like this growing up.
Okay, so you were born like that.
Yes.
And then you decided, oh, okay, I like female, or I feel female and I like female clothes. At what age?
That's a very tricky question, because I always remember when I was growing up, my grandmother used to beat me for wearing female clothing, but I actually felt more safe, more happy, more at peace when I was dressed in that manner.
Did you ever feel like dating a certain type of person because they were politically correct?
Yes, there was a time in high school
where you decided, okay, I'm going to suppress who I am because it's politically correct.
But then it didn't last.
I can only imagine.
It felt wrong.
So, I mean, the article's been published, everything's been out there, people have said whatever they've been saying. How's life been for you after that?
I like to take each day as a blessing
Mm-hmm.
to correct past mistakes and past misconceptions, but then it has been fairly hard.
Why?
I
How?
would say in the past I could just go unnoticed. I could just walk out of the gate.
You don't strike me as someone who goes unnoticed, but keep going.
Well, yes. So now I've had to revisit that because on Monday, after the story came out, I got kicked out from home.
Why?
I lost my part-time job. Yes, because they felt like the story was now going to suck in everyone and they didn't feel safe at all to then sort of like harbor me. So
On what grounds?
on the grounds that you're posted by H Metro and you're trending, like everyone is talking about you, everyone is
Did
calling.
the journalist talk to you?
He did call, and then he called on Sunday, and then he's like, I hope you know who you're talking to. And then I was like, I don't know who I'm talking to, it's a new number. And you're even like, I answered you because it's a Sunday, I don't answer calls on a Sunday. And then he's like, oh, it's Aaron, do you now know me? I'm like, there are plenty of Aarons in the world. Are you Aaron Edgerton, the actor? Who are you? And then he's like, no, it's Aaron Yamayara from H Metro. Then I was like, oh, okay, how may I assist? And then he's like, I want to run a story on you. And then I was like, what kind of story? Because I was even confused. And then he's like, oh, yesterday people are wondering and asking me questions why you're dressed the way you're dressed last night at the Makadzi show. And then I was like, dressed which way? And then he's like, the way you're dressed. I'm like, do you know me? And then he's like, no, I don't know you. And then I'm like, no wonder. I think that's why you're asking this petty question. But then what do you want to know? Then he's like, well, you're dressed as a female and you used the ladies' bathroom. And then I even corrected him. I was like, firstly, I did not use any bathroom by that show. I didn't even go near the bathrooms, even they were near the entrance. And then secondly, I always dress like that because I'm a fashion designer. I actually take it as a platform to advertise my work, because at times I can't say I'm going out and I want to go out with a model and then I have to dress it, I have to buy drinks for her, I have to do all these things. It's better if I do it on my own. And then he's like, oh, okay, so would you mind me publishing your story? I was like, hell no, you're not going to publish my story because I don't want to be exposed or to be, no. And then he was like, oh, okay. And then I was like, a question for you. You're saying people are concerned with the way I was dressed. Why are they concerned with the way I was dressed, firstly? Secondly, who gave you the authority to then take it upon yourself, to then come and question me? Like, who are you? And then he was like, oh, no, I'm asking because I want to do a story. I'm like, well, I just told you, you asked politely. I said, no, don't do the story.
So that story was done without your consent?
It was, because he even said, should
all
I
the
do the
pictures
story?
and everything?
He didn't, I never consented to him taking pictures of me. That was a violation of my rights as a citizen of Zimbabwe.
And speaking of citizens of Zimbabwe, life outside. I mean, yes, the story has been done, but outside that and moving around and trying to maneuver in you being you, how is that?
Oh, it's definitely hard. It is hard because from most of the comments that I was being told by people that were reading all that was posted, some of them were very, I don't know how to put it, but I would say people were very bitter. And most of them would be calling for my hand, or they would really want to hurt me. So now I also have to then fear for my safety. Am I safe to even go outside and buy a loaf of bread? Am I safe to even just go out and enjoy the fresh air or the sun, or even just jog or even take a walk? I no longer feel safe. And this is a question from me to him, Aaron, is the president said that he's not leaving anyone behind. Zimbabwe is for everyone. With this story that you published, where do you want me to go? What do you want me to do? Did you think about it? Did you think about the people that you had in the aftermath? Obviously, most people would think that, because he does this, they don't care about what they're doing. But then I also have people behind me. Did you think of those people before you published that story?
Now I'm getting emotional.
No, like,
because I guess I would never know how it feels like to be in your shoes, but I also do understand. I could try and imagine how hard it would be to actually try and maneuver after being in such a big publication.
You get calls from family members asking why you'd do that to them and why you'd even then cause distress to them. I've had an aunt who's been admitted in hospital because of this, because she was getting bashed from her church, she got demoted, she got all these things, and then it's from people that are selfish and self-centered like him that don't think that we also have people that care for us. And then also for people that, young children that are growing up, that are in our community, you've destroyed their lives. You've already destroyed them before they even reach their full potential.
Whew. Yeah, I guess there's a lot of things that it's easy to speak from the outside.
It is.
It's always very easy to speak from the outside.
I've lost friends. Well, generally I wouldn't say friends, because if you're really my friend, then I don't think I would have lost you. But then yes, I've lost people along the way because of this. But then it's a way of life. You win some, you lose some. There's nothing I can do about it.
You've put me in a really emotional state, but I guess, like we did say, we have that platform and we're having this conversation with people. What would you say to people, Zimbabweans in general, if you had to speak for your community, if you had to speak for the people like you, what would you say?
Well, people are quick to judge. They're quick to just have anything to say. But then, personally, I feel like every single family has got someone in our community. It could be your father, it could be your grandfather, it could be your mom, it could be your aunt, your siblings. Before you judge, before you say harsh words, before you destroy someone's life, take a step back and think what it would mean to them.
And I guess it's, now that you've put it that way, that everyone in society is going to stand on Sodom and Gomorrah. That's who we are.
Yes, I'm not gonna argue about that. And I'm not gonna force down opinions or beliefs down people's throats. People are allowed to believe what they want. But then at times, the truth is hidden in plain sight.
Hey. Yeah, I guess that also goes to say a lot about our community and society in general. All right, Yami, thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for sharing your side of the story. And I guess all we can hope for from now is you are safe, and hope people get to understand you better. Now that you've explained yourself, people get to accept you as a person. Well, we've had our conversation with Yemi. If you saw the pictures in the H Metro, this was the gentleman who was in a dress, who everyone, was a bit of a talk of the story, town, for lack of a better term. And today we just heard their side of the story. And I want to say a big shout out to Mashwede. The chicken is amazing. Do go to Mashwede. I've seen pictures of people living their best lives at Mashwede. Come live your best life with me this Saturday at Mashwede. From the Zim Celebs team, we appreciate you. We love you. Thank you for your support. We will remain toxic.